Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Government House, Yarra. Dawa Nuna, Dawa Nunawel. I acknowledge the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we are and recognise any other people or families with connection to the ACT and the region. I respect their continuing culture, contribution they make to the life and the diversity of this city and the surrounding region. And I also acknowledge any other Torres Strait Islander or Aboriginal people that may be gathered here with us this morning or watching online. My name is Paul Singer and I'm the Governor-General's Official Secretary. And as this badge signifies with its cross quills, I'm the Secretary for the Council for the Order of Australia, the body which makes recommendations in the General Division to the Governor-General, who is both Chancellor of the Order and the Principal Companion of the Order. And I'm also the Secretary of the Australian Bravery Decorations Council, the body which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for Bravery Awards. Before we start this morning's ceremony, I'd like to acknowledge among our distinguished guests, Vice Admiral Mark Hammond, Chief of Navy, Lieutenant General Simon Stewart, Chief of Army, Air Commodore James Badgery, representing the Chief of Air Force, Dr. Shubho Banerjee, representing the Commissioner of the Australian Public Service Commission, Commissioner Rhys Kershaw, Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police, Deputy Commissioner Chrissy Barrett, Deputy Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police, and we congratulate you on your award yesterday, Chief Officer Anthony Draheim, Chief Officer of the ACT State Emergency Services, Deputy Commissioner David Dutton, representing the Commissioner of New South Wales Ambulance, and Mr Andrew Phelan, representing the National President of the Order of Australia Association. Welcome all. The Australian honour system provides a wonderful mechanism through which we as a nation can recognise ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And since its inception in 1975, almost 400,000 people have been recognised for their meritorious, bravery, military or national service. And the Order of Australia is the principal means of recognising outstanding service. And it's important to note that nominations come from all parts of the community. Anyone can nominate. Today is a special day, not only for the recipients, but also for their friends, their families and their communities. It's a day when we recognise and celebrate a diverse range of impressive achievements. And my Government House colleagues and I are privileged to play a small part in the recognition and celebration of that service. And we look forward to making this morning a day that you'll recall with pride for a long time to come. Shortly, I'll invite you to stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, and then please remain standing and join in for the singing of the first verse of the Australian National Anthem. After I read their names and citations, the recipients will enter from the doorway on my right, and after they've been invested by the Governor-General, they'll return via the central aisle to take up their seats at the back of the room. And it's at this point you might like to show your appreciation with a short applause. At the conclusion of the ceremony, the Governor-General will say a few words, and then I'll invite the recipients to join with Her Excellencies out on the state entrance stairs for an official photograph. And at this point, we'll invite the guests to head out into the dining room and onto the lakeside terrace where refreshments will be served, and then Their Excellencies and recipients will join you shortly thereafter. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please relax and enjoy this very special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're able, would you please stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia and Mrs Hurley, and for the singing of the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
Good morning, and can I add Linda and my warm welcome to those you've already received here at Government House this morning. Linda and I are delighted to be part of such a significant day in the life of our recipients, their families and friends, and indeed our nation, as we recognise those who have made significant contribution to us from the community to the international level. Before I begin, a few more remarks. Can I also acknowledge the Ngunnawal people and other families that are associated with the ACT region? The Canberrans here will know what a beautiful part of the country this is, with the Brindabella out to our west, the Madji down south, the Murrumbidgee that winds its way down our western border, and we thank the Ngunnawal and other families for looking after it for us for generation after generation. Well, it is a special day today. We're all done up in our finery. The military's here looking very bright and shiny, as they often do, and so it should be. This is the day, and we can do this twice a year, blessed to do this twice a year, where we have the ability to say thank you, our sincerest thank you, to Australians who have merited recognition in our honours and awards system. Now, our honours and awards system has a number of characteristics. One of the most important, though, I think, and perhaps unique, is that it's a bottom-up system. So what do I mean by that? Ours is not a system where I sit down with a couple of my staff, maybe a few politicians, a couple of times a year, and look at who we've met during the year and say, well, Bill or Bob or Jenny or Joe deserves a medal. Everyone in the general division who comes through this door here at Government House Yarralumla or any other government house in the country comes through because someone in the community nominated them. It is bottom up. It is your system. It is our system. We recognise those in our community think should be acknowledged for their work. I want you to think of that because I'm going to give you some homework after the formal part of the ceremony. You don't normally expect that at Government House, but you're going to get some today. The other characteristic I like about the recipients in our system is today is not a full stop day. Today is not recognition, don't bother doing any more work. We know through just running into these people around the country continuously that they continue to give as they have before. That's a great reflection on the character of our country. And indeed, having engaged with Australians in vice-regal roles now for 10 years, days like today and our visits around the country give me enormous optimism for our country. Now, apparently it's not trendy to be optimistic for Australia today, but I am, because of the quality of the people we see. We will take on the issues ahead of us. Could I make a particular reference this morning to partners and family members? Thank you for what you have given to enable the recipients to be acknowledged today. This day is as much about you as it is about them. I know what a team looks like to make this happen. So deeply grateful to you for what you have contributed to your country as well. And I say a bit tongue-in-cheek that they get their bling today, they might consider taking you shopping. There's a bit to be balanced in all our lives. Paul will make reference later on about how we nominate, and I'll give you some homework in relation to it, as I said. But today is really a day to say thank you, to celebrate, and really to be quite thankful that we live in the country we do, where people will go that extra mile, contribute so much to the well-being of their fellow Australians, and yet do it with humility. And I would say that's the final characteristic of our recipients. Everyone who comes through these doors will be saying, I didn't do it for a medal. You know, this is important work. I love doing it. It's needy work. It must be done. To the recipients today, thank you for that humility, but I give you permission to be less humble today. Your country is saying thank you. You can be boastful a little bit, but not too much like a braggart. That's the fine line we're going to achieve today. But we really want to say thank you and honour you for your contribution to our country. I'll now begin the formal investiture ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, to be presented with the insignia of his appointment as a companion of the Order in the General Division, Emeritus Professor David Boger, for eminent service to chemical engineer as a scientist, academic and researcher, particularly in the field of non-Newtonian fluid mechanics and to the environment. Professor Boger is a leading research academic and educator with a national and international reputation in the field of chemical engineering. He's devoted many years to the science of rheology and the flow and deformation of materials, and his research led to the discovery of a new class of material behaviour, subsequently named the Boger fluids. He's also applied his extensive scientific knowledge and expertise to improving the sustainability of mining and resource sectors, and his endeavours have helped minimise the environmental impact of minerals processing and mining slurries. He's been widely recognised for his expertise, including appointment to the Australian Academy of Technological Science and Engineering, the Australian Academy of Science, and the Royal Society in London. Professor Boger is a distinguished Australian scholar who is widely respected and admired for his achievements. Emeritus Professor David Boger, appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion of the Order in the General Division, the late Mr. John Barry Humphries, to be accepted by his wife, Miss Elizabeth Spender, for eminent service to the arts as a comedian, actor, author, satirist and entertainer, to the promotion of Australian culture and as a patron of organisations. Mr. Humphries was one of our most treasured artistic icons and is well known and recognised across the globe as a comedian, actor and satirical performer of renown. Throughout a career beginning in the 1950s, he held up a mirror to Australians, and the characters he created entertained, amused, challenged and confronted audiences. He is embedded in our culture and our fundamental idea of ourselves as a nation through his quick wit, sharp intellect and ability to observe our traits and characteristics. He enabled us to take a joke and laugh at ourselves. He also added considerably to Australia's arts environment through support for a range of arts-related endeavours and encouragement of young artists. Mr. Humphries has left an indelible legacy in the national and international performance sphere, and we are much the richer for his contributions. The late Mr. John Barry Humphries, appointed a Companion of the Order and to be accepted by Miss Elizabeth Spender. They'll be rejoicing in the streets of Moonee Ponds. Appointed a Companion of the Order in the General Division, the Honourable Jennifer Macklin, for eminent service to the people and Parliament of Australia, to social welfare, particularly the introduction of paid parental leave and the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and to the Indigenous community. Ms Macklin has had a long and distinguished career in the Australian political arena, selflessly devoting herself to the service of the nation. Many major social reforms of the last 25 years would either not have happened or would have looked entirely different but for her involvement. This included establishing Australia's first paid parental leave scheme, a program which has supported millions of families and particularly women. She was the key to the introduction of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which has been life-changing for people living with a disability. She was instrumental in the national apology to the stolen generations in 2008 and also the implementation of Closing the Gap framework, which has been beneficial for identifying ways to improve the lives of Indigenous Australians. Ms Macklin's focus on making life better for Australians in need, whether it be through social services, pensions, disability payments, or children in low-income households, has been remarkable. The Honourable Jennifer Macklin appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion of the Order in the General Division, Professor Lorraine Mazero, for eminent service to education, to the social sciences as a criminologist and researcher, and to the development of innovative evidence-based policy reforms. Professor Mazero is a world-leading criminologist recognised for her exceptional contributions to policing research, theory and practice. She's dedicated her efforts to shape the way police engage with the public, thereby fostering trust and legitimacy and ultimately facilitating the capacity of police forces to be more effective in preventing crime. Her work has been critical in empowering police and corrective services to achieve evidence-based reform across Australia. This reform has helped improve human rights for diverse community members who interact with law enforcement officers. She's also developed innovative criminology programs that have increased young people's engagement with education, as well as assisting in reducing youth crime. Professor Mazero has built an impressive body of scientific knowledge that has created benefits for many of our citizens. Professor Lorraine Mazero appointed a Companion of the Order. Appointed a Companion of the Order in the General Division, Professor Deborah Terry, for eminent service to tertiary education as an institutional leader and academic, to the strengthening of higher education through collaboration and innovation, and to the community. Professor Terry is an academic of repute and is considered one of the nation's pre-eminent university vice-chancellors. She's undertaken formal leadership roles in the higher education sector with great distinction, including serving as Chair and Deputy Chair of Universities Australia. She's striven to create positive outcomes for our universities and their stakeholders and was pivotal in the establishment of the $1 billion research fund in the 2020 federal budget, which allowed universities to sustain activity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, she's been involved in the research commercialisation arena that is now supporting commercial outcomes and investment in new opportunities for universities. Professor Terry's career and achievements are of the highest order, and the dedication she has brought to her various roles is an exemplar to us all. Professor Deborah Terry appointed a Companion of the Order. appointed an Officer of the Order in the General Division, His Honour Professor the Honourable Hugh Heggy, for distinguished service to medicine and medical research organisations and as Administrator of the Northern Territory. His Honour has made notable contribution to the people of the Northern Territory, particularly in the areas of community health and medical administration. Throughout his 50-year health career, he demonstrated excellence in clinical practice, leadership, management and administrative fields. He served as the Territory's Chief Health Officer and Executive Director of Public Health and Clinical Excellence. He played a vital role in ensuring the safety of the Northern Australian community during the COVID-19 pandemic. He provided strategic clinical advice to the Territory Government's decisions relating to border control, quarantine, testing, tracing, hygiene principles and outbreak management plans. His Honour's appointment as the 23rd Administrator of the Northern Territory further reflects his steadfast commitment and dedication to the community. His Honour Professor the Honourable Hugh Heggy, appointed an Officer of the Order. Appointed a Member of the Order in the General Division, Emeritus Professor Dudley Cray, for significant service to science and to tertiary education. Professor Cray is a leading member of the Australian scientific community who has played a vital role in pioneering groundbreaking research initiatives. He's regarded as an expert in the use of X-rays to examine and investigate the characteristics of diverse materials, and his work has contributed to our nation's health, cultural heritage conservation, social history and border security. He's also extended his collaboration approach to include international endeavours, working with colleagues in Asia, Europe and the United States, and he served on a range of international scientific societies. Professor Cray's support for emerging scientists has helped foster subsequent generations of researchers, and the value of his achievements cannot be underestimated. Emeritus Professor Dudley Cray, appointed a Member of the Order. Appointed a Member of the Order in the General Division, Dr. David Hughes, for significant service to sports medicine as an administrator and elite athlete physician. Dr. Hughes has been a leading representative for Australian sport in his capacity as the Chief Medical Officer at the Australian Institute of Sport. He provided critical support to Australia's Olympic team, serving as Medical Director for the Summer Olympics in Rio 2016 and Tokyo in 2020. He was a key driver in the development and implementation of world-leading protocols that helped Australians return to community and high-performance sport when COVID-19 first struck. He's also an expert and leader in the emerging work around sport-related concussion and brain trauma, an area critical to the future of contact sports. Dr. Hughes can be considered as one of the most respected medical professionals in sport worldwide. Dr. David Hughes, appointed a Member of the Order. appointed a member of the Order in the Military Division, Rear Admiral Matthew Buckley, for exceptional service in senior leadership roles within the Royal Australian Navy. Rear Admiral Buckley has served across a range of demanding command and senior leadership appointments throughout his naval career. During his tenure as Director General Maritime Operations, he drove key initiatives to improve operational availability of the fleet's resources and oversaw an increase in Navy's assets across the Indo-Pacific region. As Director General Navy People, he demonstrated exceptional leadership during COVID-19, supporting Navy People Branch to achieve first-rate outcomes. Currently, as the head of the nuclear-powered submarine capability, his interactions with international counterparts have been instrumental in the development of a pathway for increased collaboration on naval nuclear propulsion. Rear Admiral Buckley's commitment to an enormous body of work has directly contributed to our national security. Rear Admiral Matthew Buckley, appointed a member of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mr. Michael Fay, for service to international relations and to education. Mr. Fay is a pioneer in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Education Area. He is perhaps best known for his role as convener of the ASEAN Education Dialogue and director of the ASEAN Focus Group. These dialogues have strengthened Australia's education and training relationships with key stakeholders in the region. He's also been involved in many philanthropic activities in Asia, including assisting in the Duke of Edinburgh Award in Indonesia, and was closely involved with the post-tsunami recovery in Sumatra. Mr. Fay is an outstanding contributor to the education linkages and relationships across the ASEAN region. Mr. Michael Fay, awarded the Medal of the Order. We move now to the Conspicuous Service Decorations. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Warrant Officer Jessica Bewley, for devotion to duty as Communications and Informations Warfare Manager in HMAS Sydney. Warrant Officer Bewley's commitment and dedication to the crew of HMAS Sydney and Navy's Communication Information System branch are of the highest calibre. During the COVID-19 pandemic, she contributed significantly to Navy's capability through mentoring and guiding the ship's company in this unprecedented period. Her management and ability to inspire sailors through professional growth and alternative forms of education have directly assisted in the retention of trained and qualified sailors and strengthened the Navy's Communications Information Systems branch. Warrant Officer Bewley's outstanding service embraces Navy's values and are in the finest traditions of the Australian Defence Force. Warrant Officer Jessica Bewley, awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Wing Commander Dennis French for meritorious achievement as an operational planner for the Indo-Pacific Integrated Operations Team, Headquarters Joint Operations Command. Wing Commander French displayed meritorious devotion to duty as the lead operational planner for operations in the Indo-Pacific region. He played a critical role in the formation of the integrated operations teams and in planning and execution of a range of new activities. In 2020, the Japanese Self-Defence Force approached the ADF offering to provide protection to Australian assets when operating in defence of Japan. He led the development of an exercise to test the operational viability of the offer, the results of which have greatly enhanced operational cooperation between Australia and Japan. Wing Commander French's achievements during his posting to Headquarters Joint Operations Command are most noteworthy. Wing Commander Dennis French awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal. We move now to the Meritorious Service Awards. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Mr. Nicholas Hasco, for outstanding public service in developing and embedding the practice of facilitation services within government departments and agencies. Mr. Hasco established the Government Facilitation Community of Practice, a cross-agency group which has grown to host over 400 individuals at all levels of government. His efforts have delivered a new capability within the Australian Public Service that achieves co-designed outcomes and builds true partnerships between the APS and non-government stakeholders. He's developed a reputation for building long-lasting relationships, and his work has directly impacted the delivery of successful policy, program and regulation, particularly to biosecurity investment in Northern Australia. Mr. Hasco's impressive contribution has made him one of the APS's most respected specialist facilitators. Mr. Nicholas Hasco awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Australian Police Medal, Detective Inspector Peter Dean, for distinguished service to the Australian Federal Police, particularly in the area of sensitive investigations. Detective Inspector Dean has served in a range of roles since joining the Australian Federal Police in 2004. Whilst operating in the Special Investigations area, he led a number of the AFP's most complex and politically sensitive investigations, and he is recognised as a subject matter expert, particularly on the National Security Information Act. Recently, he has been the senior AFP representative at the Joint Counter Foreign Interference Task Force and has worked collaboratively with other partners to conduct espionage and foreign interference investigations. Detective Inspector Dean's efforts have been of significant benefit to our country. Detective Inspector Peter Dean awarded the Australian Police Medal. awarded the Australian Police Medal, Detective Leading Senior Constable Kate Laidler, for distinguished service to the Australian Federal Police, particularly in the area of child protection operations. Detective Leading Senior Constable Laidler has provided outstanding dedication to one of the most challenging tasks within the Australian Federal Police, namely child protection victim identification. Her previous experience in similar children-focused areas equipped her well in undertaking the leadership of the Child Sex Offender Registry team. In that role, she has demonstrated resilience and perseverance in removing children from harm, identifying offenders, and holding them to account. Detective Leading Senior Constable Laidler has been vital in assisting the AFP to meet its child protection mission, and we recognise her achievements today. Detective Leading Senior Constable Kate Laidler awarded the Australian Police Medal. Awarded the Ambulance Service Medal, Assistant Commissioner Brian White, for distinguished service to New South Wales Ambulance. Assistant Commissioner White has worked in a range of frontline and administrative roles since joining the New South Wales Ambulance in 1979. He's developed a reputation for flexibility and a willingness to assist the organisation to adopt and implement change. He's passionate about patient advocacy and staff performance, and led a team responsible for reforming the work roster of the southern sector, resulting in enhanced welfare and work-life balance for paramedics. Assistant Commissioner White's achievements have seen the Illawarra-Shoalhaven zone become a shining example of improved regional outcomes. Assistant Commissioner Brian White awarded the Ambulance Service Medal. Awarded the Emergency Services Medal, Mr. Tristan P. Moller, for distinguished service to the Australian Capital Territory State Emergency Service. Mr. P. Moller is a highly dedicated and valued member of the ACT State Emergency Service. He's served as a frontline volunteer since 2017 and has responded to a range of requests for assistance during floods, storms, missing person searches, and the coordination of training activities. During the ACT health response to the COVID-19 pandemic, he contributed multiple hours of service, participating in incident management teams, distribution of goods to local residents, and delivery of school supplies and laptop computers to students on behalf of ACT education. Mr. P. Moller continues to demonstrate an outstanding level of commitment to the ACT State Emergency Service and to the Canberra community. Mr. Tristan P. Moller awarded the Emergency Services Medal. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentations this morning.
We've acknowledged each of our recipients individually. I think it'd be appropriate now to acknowledge them as a group. Congratulations to you all. To homework. In the general division of the order, so that's the non-military and non-meritorious sections you saw today, we acknowledge people who have contributed at the community level. You know them. They're the people who are running the tennis clubs, the singing groups, out there on Saturday mornings doing the barbecues, sausage sizzles and so forth. Your homework. You know those people in your community. They cannot be recognised for their contribution without being nominated. So we need you to nominate. Paul will explain how to do that in a moment. While you're doing and thinking about who you think merits recognition, can you bear a couple of thoughts in mind? In the general division of the order, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've reached parity in gender, men and women being appropriately recognised as they should be in our country. We need to maintain that. We are still underrepresented in the order in the multicultural sector of our community and in the Indigenous sector. Both those areas we're doing work on with those communities, but we need your assistance as well. So go back, identify, nominate, keep those factors in place. This order must reflect who we are as Australia today. And we all need to work to achieve that. So I won't be able to mark your homework in the future because this is my last investiture ceremony ever. So Tristan, you are my last. I'll remember you and the little platypus as it. But can I say to all of you, after 10 years, 20 investiture weeks, I'm not quite sure how many investiture ceremonies nor number of people I've had the privilege to invest. I go back to that point. You cannot but be optimistic for our country when you see the quality of its people. So thank you. To families again, particularly partners, thank you for your contribution. We're remarkably grateful to you for what you have achieved for us as a country. So delighted to be able to spend that time with you, and we all look forward to catching up with you in a few moments' time to congratulate you on your commitment to our country. Good morning to you all, and look forward to seeing you outside in what is a beautiful autumn day in Canberra and celebrating with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to assist with the homework that the Governor-General has set this morning, I invite you to access the online nomination form, which is available on the Governor-General's website at www.gg.gov.au. As the Governor-General has said, it is a relatively straightforward process, and we look forward to welcoming those that have been successful through that process to an investiture such as this in the future. Before we close and invite recipients to join with Your Excellencies for a state entrance for a photo, can I just acknowledge, having heard that the Governor-General has mentioned that this is his last investiture ceremony, I think it's appropriate for us all to acknowledge his contribution and that of Mrs. Hurley's as well to the Order of Australia over at least 10 years and in fact beyond. The Governor-General, as Chief of Defence Force, was an ex officio member of the Council for the Order of Australia, and then as Governor of New South Wales conducted many investitures at Government House Sydney, and then of course as Governor-General has been both Principal Companion and the Chancellor of the Order. And Your Excellencies, we acknowledge both of you for your contribution to the Order of Australia and the Australian Honours System over that period. I now invite the recipients to join with Your Excellencies on the state entrance stairs and for guests to head through to the dining room and out onto the Lakeside Terrace where refreshments will be served. Thank you and good morning.